Hey yo, YouTube, how y'all doing? Welcome back to another video. Again, not to overrun it, but appreciate y'all for that weapon stat video because I checked it recently. It's at 12,000 views. Like, what the that's wild. I'm gonna be honest with you. So again, much love to that. And again, I apologize for some of the numbers if I didn't get them all there. Again, your boy does have his full vault, and I'm trying to get back all the weapons slowly over time. So I do plan to redo that weapon stat video in the future once gain some more information. So any information y'all can correct me on in that video so I can redo it hopefully in the future would be much appreciated for that. And again, much love for that. And just the recent support in general, it means a lot to you, boy, because it's hard out here, but I'm glad y'all have been enjoying the content. Hopefully enjoy the future stuff I have for you and like coming out soon. But today's video is going to be about the two upcoming meta builds that people are going to be rocking in Crucible that are going to be pretty OP. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, we've already been through a overshield meta recently, like I think a couple years back or so. We all remember how oppressive that was. So, and then the new buff to Brute Weaver coming out to that build was already strong. Like a lot of people that were sleeping on it are going to realize how OP that build is. Now, you can't just put it on and just expect to win. You have to have some tactical plays with it to take advantage of it. But yeah, you can use it for like baiting out shots, surviving golden guns, supers. Yeah, there's a lot of potential with Brute Weaver that people don't realize. But once this buff happens, people are gonna actually rather quickly pick up on it. And yeah, it's gonna be very dominant and oppressive in the meta. Because yeah, they're gonna end up nerfing it at some point. But for the time that it is gonna be OP, yeah, be ready because it's gonna be annoying as hell. But yeah, today's video, I was thinking about strategies to help you all counter that in the meta right now. Because yeah, those builds are gonna be stupid oppressive. Like, I mean, you're gonna see it every like match. It's gonna be that bad, especially with the nerfs to Graviton Spike, the knife build. Some like people that were using meta stuff are probably gonna be swapping to Warlocks or Titans to take advantage of that. Yeah, it's gonna be disgusting. But that's why I took the opportunity here to go ahead and test some things so that I can give you guys some strategies of what to use to help you counteract some of those meta builds in the future. So going over shields first, I do want to let you all know I'm testing more specifically weapons against them, not necessarily abilities, because abilities, you can kind of use them to counteract, like smokes on hunters. You got the Voidstone Warlock with the Warlock buff happening too. And you have general options with abilities to kind of ruin their healing behind a barricade. So I didn't really test those. But most specifically, I was testing weapons to see which ones you could still, keep your TTK values without having to worry about, ships or anything, or which weapons to stay away from when going against people like that. And here's what I found out for y'all. So for the first weapon archetype, and I'm sorry for you bow lovers out there that I didn't test the weapon set on that. I didn't really see any point to it, but I'm not forgetting about y'all this time. But yeah, bows, the best ones to use for overshield usage is actually a bow with kinetic tremors, because already bows can 2-tap even with the overshield. However, the benefit to having kinetic tremors on is that you could 2-tap to the body, and the kinetic tremors aftershock does proc the kill. So with that overshield, it is nicer for that as a cushion option for bows. But I mean, bows out the gate still can 2-tap to the head regardless of the overshield. So, but yeah, kinetic tremors having that is a little bit nicer. So if you want to use a bow, ideally you want to use one with kinetic tremors to take care of overshields. Now for hand cannons, what I tested was 140s with enhanced precision instrument. They can no longer 3-tap with that, even with the increased damage with the enhanced version, sadly. So you have to kind of worry about that. 120 hand cannons with precision instrument can still 3-tap with the overshield. So that's probably a viable option to have that enhanced, of course. Now, I did test because Criminal's Dagger is definitely one of the most meta hand cannons right now in PvP. Criminal's Dagger with Adagio cannot 2-tap people with the overshield, sadly. So yeah, any of you Criminal's Dagger lovers that are going against an overshield, you cannot really do that as much. I mean, you can most likely 2-hit in one body and still be fine, but that nerf to the RPM, you're going to feel that for, having to get 2-hit one body as opposed to, normal TTK values. So that's kind of like the negative drawback to this. So in this case, maybe precision instrument. If you have it on Criminal's Dagger, you want to use that one instead. But yeah, Adagio for overshield users, you kind of want to stay away from. Then the shotgun hand cannons, they still 2-tap even with the overshield. They do 145 to the head. So yeah, you don't have to really worry about those too much. And then 180s, I didn't really test because even with precision instrument, it wasn't going to change the TTK values just because of how much health you were getting. I mean, maybe you can take down the overshield with a kill perk, but I was testing more perks that, you can work right out the gate to help you like easier get the kill just straight up off the rip. So yeah, 180s with the Sightline Survey with precision instrument, it wasn't going to increase the TTK. You were still going to require another bullet to get the kills. So that's why it's not here in the video. Moving on to scouts, I wasn't able to test much of them, but for the ones that I did, 260 scouts can no longer 4-tap with precision instrument enhanced, so keep in mind out for that one. And the other biggest one I want to test was a 180 scout with box breathing. Now, unfortunately, 180s with box breathing cannot 3-tap to the head. It's not going to be able to do it anymore. So keep that in mind in the future if you're planning to use those scout rifles against overshield users. You're not going to be able to use it. Then for pulses, from what I tested, high impact pulses cannot 2-burst even with under over, because some pulses can't get that to do increased damage to overshield. Could not do it. So yeah, even if you have under over, sadly because of the increase to the resilience value stat for everyone that we're all 230 HP, even with under over, it does not help us, get 2-burst kills still. So you're kind of screwed on that front. Now I did test the pulse rifle from Guardians of Salvation because the origin trait does give increased damage to overshields. And even with that, it can no longer 2-burst with the overshield, sadly. So that pulse rifle and other aggressive bursts like that will not be able to 2-burst, so stay away from those. And one big thing I want to bring up here is that overshields actually lower the TTK value of heavy burst pulses. So ideally, those ones you want to avoid using against overshield users because it takes a whole nother burst to secure your kill, sadly. So if you have those and you're going against someone with overshields, do not use the heavy bursts. Now, lightweights I did test. Even with the overshield, they still 3-burst to the head, except it requires all 9 crits to get the kill. So if you're using a lightweight pulse, just be more accurate, which it's not too hard to do those, let's be honest. They're kind of like aimbot pulses, so you kind of be okay with that. You just need to make sure you land all 9 crits to get the kill. Now, rapid fires, I do admit I did not test those at the time of this recording, so I'm not sure of how effective they are, but most likely with the health increase, it will shift the TTK value of the rapid fires by a bit. So ideally for those ones as well, you kind of want to avoid those. But if you happen to have one with under over, it could kind of make up for that, increased damage and help secure the kill a little bit more effectively if you happen to have that. Now, this next one is a little bit of a surprise, but I was testing glaives to see how they would function. Specifically, a build that's been running around, like kind of sleeper build going on in PvP with Strand Titan, with Banner of War and glaives. Apparently, it's a thing with 190 melee stat. You can 2 melee people with glaives. Well, specifically Winterbite. I'm pretty sure not the special ones, but Winterbite specifically, you can 2-hit melee people just off the rip. And if you happen to get Banner of War on top of that, you can one-shot people with the melee. Yeah, this build apparently has been just under the radar, and I tested it, and yeah. Once people pick up on this one too, this one's going to be nutty, but I don't think it's going to be as effective just because you have to get really into people's faces with the heavy glaive. So like kind of, but kind of not. But I did test this build to see if it could, still one shot with the overshield. But yeah, with all those stacked together, the 190 melee and Banner of War, it only does 231 damage. So it cannot one-tap people with an overshield, but you can still 2 melee them even with that. So it's still highly effective, don't get me wrong. Now for sidearms, for those ones I tested, and generally the consensus is that they don't really care about the overshield. They still melt through people. Forgiveness still required a 3-burst, except it just took the extra bullet to get the kill. So not too much. If anything, it might have lowered the faster TTKs with damage perks, but still they're very fast. They're stupid broken. So with sidearms, it doesn't really matter too much. Now with autos, the only ones I was able to see any real significant differences with that was a 360 auto with target lock enhanced this time, because I didn't test enhanced before on the other one. This one had target lock, and you could 5 crit and 1 body someone with an overshield with 145 weapon stat. Is that really worth it in my opinion to rock the weapon stat? Generally speaking, but I mean, if you want to rock that with target lock, you can use that, get the 6 headshot kill, but I mean, not really worth it, at least in my opinion. Then I did test Giver's Blessing with kinetic tremors, and from the testing, again, since because it fires so many bullets so fast, it's kind of hard to see how many bullets it takes, but from the general consensus, it was a nicer cushion to make sure you do get the kill with the kinetic tremors aftershock, so it was kind of nice for that aspect. So that'd probably be another option to pair with it, especially if they decide to hide behind their barricades and you happen to get the kinetic tremor proc just before they get behind it and still do aftershock to them while they're hiding. It has its uses, don't get me wrong. So I think that would probably be the other best benefit to use. Now, SMGs, they're also in the same boat as sidearms. They don't really care about the overshield. They just still melt through it. And enhanced target lock will probably be the best pairing to help assist in the TTK values for those. Unfortunately, I just don't have a enhanced target lock with SMG at this time, so I wasn't able to test fully. But yeah, probably target lock is would be the ideal perk to have on SMGs if you're planning to rock that. So those are the things I found for weapon stats and things to use for, helping you get those TTK values for overshields and help counter those. Not abilities specifically, because there's just a lot of abilities out there. Those ones I'll say specifically for builds that I'll have coming out for in the future of ways to counteract certain stuff. But yes, right now this one specifically is just weapons, so hopefully you guys appreciate this one. But yeah, biggest ones, especially with some of the nerfs having to shotgun hand cannons, SMGs and sidearms are probably the best play for close range. And then if you're going at distance, you can maybe use like a 120 with precision instrument, or probably a bow with the kinetic tremors. You can use that. They'll probably be the best pairings. But yeah, it just sucks because of the increased health values in Crucible. It kind of shifts the TTKs substantially more with overshields than it would be before. So yeah, you kind of have to counteract that and be prepared for, longer engagements with, dueling. So just be wary of that. So this is how you can best counteract the Void overshield spam with Bastion Titans coming out soon. Now let's move on to the Brute Reaver Warlocks. So for the Brute Reaver Warlock specifically, we're talking about Weave Walk, because Weave Walk can tank so much shit. It is stupid. The amount of it's like things you can tank and just be fine and walk away from it is stupid. I think even a shotgun hand cannon barely did like 20 or 30 damage with all the pellets. Like, yeah, they can tank a lot. Like it's substantial. Now, with that, a lot of people can use it for baiting out, like staying like in the crux of everything and, you know, trying to be a distraction while your teammates are coming around and, you know, just be a nuisance. Or you can use it to rush around, bait someone's special ammo shot and waste it. And then you can leave while your teammates push up for that and still be fine. Like, there's a lot of counterplay with Weave Walk. But with that, we need to wait to counteract that because that's going to be oppressive. But for my testing, this is what I found to be the most effective for deterring and stopping Weave Walkers, you know, from doing whatever they're trying to do and get them out of it as fast as possible. So for Void, obviously the best one's going to be Suppressor Nades if you happen to have those. Now again, because they have a lot of movement, it's going to be a little bit harder to take advantage of that. You have to be very precise with your Suppressor Nades. However, if you're goated with it, you can make that work. Now the biggest one that can stop them, like the best out of any subclass, is Stasis. Like, Stasis is the key to stopping it. That's partially why Weave Walk hasn't been in the meta like way back when specials were a lot more prevalent, because conditional finality with the freezing shot could stop them from doing anything and just kill them out outright. So that's why Stasis is the end-all be-all way to stop these guys. So like even right now with the new enhancement to Howl of the Storm for Titans for having 2 charges, you can simply just do the uppercut freeze and then follow up with an additional melee so that we can run right through them and bash them, just deal with them right then and there. So that's one of the playstyles you can use with it. And then for Warlocks, the Stasis Warlock kit has the best capability of stopping these guys. Like, they have so much things for freezing, it's stupid. So like you can use a Stasis turret build, you can use that to keep them frozen. Now I did notice that the Stasis turret was not being as accurate with the Weave Walker and keeping up with them. So there was some times where it did miss some shots even while they were slowed. So Stasis turret I would kind of try to avoid, but you're not wrong for using it, don't get me wrong. But like there is some times where it can miss shots. So just be wary of that if you decide to use that. And of course you can still use Ice Flare bolts and, you know, the Cold Snap grenades on top of that too, to just keep freezing and chaining to, you know, the Weave Walker, and if he's by his allies, you can use that to get the enemies too. So there's counterplay with that as well. Plus the buff to Frost Pulse happening, so that way whenever you kill frozen targets, you get class energy back. Yeah, that's another way to, you know, rush them if they're coming at you and counteract them and stop them outright and just kill them with the melee. So that's another big one too to use with that. And of course, there's also Rhyme Cone Raiment for Prismatic if you want to use that playstyle, so that way you can freeze and devour to get your grenades back faster. That's actually a very oppressive build that people are kind of sleeping on right now. But yeah, if you can want to use that one instead, that's another good one to use. So yeah, Stasis Warlock is probably the biggest counter. But yeah, any Stasis ability has the comfort of stopping that too. Now for Hunters, the best way I found was just Cold Snap Grenades and the aspect to help enhance the Cold Snap Grenades. I did try Mask of Fealty, but unfortunately it does not freeze on 1 hit of the melee. It requires 2 hits to get a freeze. So you kind of have to invest in the melee stat to make sure you do get enough melee energy to keep getting them back. So that's probably the best pairing. I tested Renewal Grasp with Dustfield Nades, and unfortunately the slow effect in Dustfield Nades is substantially nerfed, so it takes too long to freeze anyone inside of them. I mean, even the footage you're seeing right here, popping the Dustfield on them, they had plenty of time to walk out of it like perfectly fine and still keep going. Like, it doesn't stop them at all. So Dustfield Nades, I would try to avoid like using those. That's why Mask of Fealty, I'd say, is probably the best pairing for that. I did test to see if the melee throw and a Winter Shroud dodge would be able to freeze. Unfortunately, it left my teammate at 95 slow stack, so it was barely unable to freeze, so it's probably not the best bet. So ideally for Hunters, I'd rock the Cold Snap Nades with the aspect to enhance the Cold Snap Nades, then probably either Shatter Dive or Winter Shroud, depending on what you're trying to use it for. I did try Shatter Diving with Glacier Grenades, and there was some inconsistency with freezing the target. Now, having all the glaciers there and then Shatter Diving with the enhanced Glacier Grenade did not one-shot them at all. It barely did any damage. But there are some scenarios where it was able to freeze, but more often than not, I was not able to get it consistently. So that was kind of like the biggest drawback to that. So if anything, Hunters rock Cold Snap Nades with probably Mask of Fealty, or if you want to use Backrest, you know, Graviton Spike, because I know a lot of you is probably still going to be crutching that as much as it's going to get nerfed, and we're not going to get into that discussion. It's going to get heated right away. But yeah. Main thing is Cold Snap for Hunters, and then going back to Warlocks, probably the Stacy Nade build, or if you want to use Frost Bolts and Ice Flare Bolts, are probably another playstyle as well. And then Titans using Howl of the Storm would probably be the most effective way to stop the Brood Reaper Warlocks. And with that, that's pretty much all the strategies I've got for y'all to help you out counteract these meta builds that are going to be rising up in the meta. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it helps you out a little bit. If you guys happen to find any other strategies to help counteract them in the future, feel free to comment them down below and, you know, help the community understand the better ways to counteract these playstyles and, you know, keep them in check as much as they're going to be overpowered. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video. Next up, I do have a video of a discovery with a certain stat value that is actually being slept on right now. It's actually very, very strong. If you want to see what it is, look at my Twitter. I posted a clip about it, and let's just say let's just say there's a stat in PvP that can help lower your opponent's damage for one shot. So yeah, keep an eye out for that video coming out soon. So it's gonna take me a little bit of testing, so bear with me on that for a little bit. Hopefully you guys are gonna like that video and see how potent that stat is, especially in the meta right now. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Keep an eye out for that video. Like, comment, subscribe if you did enjoy. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord in the description down below. Do all the things, all the stuff. Like, subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one. And don't you ever forget to keep it chill.